Don't lose them. In Norwalk by Randy's. I'm barely here now. Yeah. Bye. The type of people that live here are mostly of Asian descent. That's racist.
They look so happy. Oh my god.
What do you expect to learn in this trip?
Dark history about
Colonialism?
Colonialism, yes. It's gonna be dark.
Look forward to this trip.
Getting warm and cold.
What do you look forward to this trip?
San Gabriel Mission.
What do you look forward to this trip?
Snapchatting.
What do you look forward?
You already asked me.
What do you look forward? What do you look forward to this trip?
Spending time with you guys.
What do you look forward to this trip?
Snapchatting.
What do you look forward?
You already asked me.
What do you look forward? What sites are you excited about?
Dodger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium. Yeah.
Is that even a sign?
Courthouse.
Where?
Courthouse.
Courthouse. Courthouse, I meant. I heard fort. We're here at the San Gabriel Mission, and honestly, I don't know what to expect because I've never been here. But like, it does look like whitewash. All like the religious part from like the back in the days Catholicism. I can't say it.
Is it even open today?
Okay, Saturday. We can just stand outside. We're here.
We should. I'm already recording.
Okay, so we should look at the questions first before we start.
The thing I'm more excited about is the San Gabriel Mission, but not because it's beautiful. It's because in the 3rd grade, we did group projects. We built missions, and we did research on them, but they never actually showed us the dark side, how indigenous people were killed over. Given my group's research about these historical landmarks, we're hoping that they show the good and evil side of both history and the makings of the approach and the lens we're looking at this project are through the eyes of the indigenous people, the people who were used to be here, the people who were exploited, just so we could have these historical landmarks right in front of us.
Oh my god.
Now you have to put your hand on the side. You know the one
But it fails to mention all the people who lived here before and died. Bracera, the founder of the California Missions. Also known as a person who killed everyone here. You murder!
It says, the spirit of 1771 welcomes you. Behind this arch, the beginning of California's modern civilization is written in massive walls and rudimentary through genial factories. Inside you will be breathing an atmosphere of many years, each inspiring psalmody of the church, fragrant and comforting, with virtues and heroism of the friars and missionaries who brought the blessing of Christianity to pagan Indians and to us. What the fuck is this?
Look at all these missions where killings took place. Mass murdering sites.
Mass murders.
All of them. All the people, all the Indians. San Francisco, Ines, San Jose, San Miguel.
Missions I was talking about in 3rd grade. The lies they told us. I think I did that mission in 3rd grade.
Oh, look. Barely someone finally from their native land, but out of all of them, why just make one of them? So there's actually churches, there's an actual church in Mass right now in here. They're actually right now. How many Indians are buried here?
Their own land.
They're missing a few thousand tombs, I think. Should we tell them? Damn, I think they're missing a few of them, no? A few
Their own
thousand?
land.
They're missing a few thousand tombs, I think. Should we tell them?
Yo, they're walking on dead people. Disrespect. The level of disrespect. All the people who've died that were part of this church. Even some sort of like recent hand in hand through eternity. World War One. Father and mother. Loving mother.
Everything surrounds money. Yeah.
We're getting the inside scoop here.
Oh, it says candle and soap factory.
Right here? Candle and soap factory? Long time ago. So when they started that was when native Americans. Check it out, stuff.
What made the system? Like
Yeah.
What was stolen?
Uh-huh.
Well, no, what was stolen during the
Y bueno, México. No México. Because they did this. So the city said,
Process to make soap and candles that was stolen from the Native Americans.
see, they want to know, they thought the world was square.
Right.
But the world was round.
Right.
And they tried to go to India. And they came to Native America instead. And they came to Mexico, to bring the religion of the Catholic Church. Because in that time the Aztec was, it was sacrificed humans. Long time ago. I'm talking about 1500, 20, 10, something like that. And then they sacrifice some people. Sacrifice the sun. They call it not the view. It's the sun, God's son. But it wasn't the Lord, okay? He was in pain. They thought was the Lord. When the Spirit came here, they showed the real Lord is Jesus. And when the lady was in Mexico, they see the cross, that means the Christian. It was traitors. They paid to the Native Americans to turn against us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this power.
Yeah.
Okay? They came later.
Right.
After the Mexicans, they came later. The Spanish came
eating hot Cheetos right now because I brought hot Cheetos. Hot Lays, hot Cheetos, hot chips.
Getting our workout for the day. Going uphill. Leg day every day.
There's a squirrel here, and we can't fucking figure out where the rest of our people are. I don't know. City Hall's fucking huge. Whatever. We'll find them.
This place is the immigration services, and in order to go in you have to go through this detector, which is kind of messed up, and I don't know what that says, but it's closed on weekends.
Hi, so we're here at the courthouse. We're here at the. Where are we here? So we are at the Downey Block. This is where Indians during the 1980s were auctioned off. They were auctioned off into indentured servitude by a lot of ranchers and vineyard owners. So the Indians would work for the vineyard owners and the ranchers, and they would get either partially or wholly paid in alcohol. So the Indians would gather around and throw parties in public, and they would end up getting thrown in jail. So their bail would be posted up by the ranchers and the vineyard owners in exchange for a week's labor. So a third of their wages would go to the Indian, and 2/3 would go into the justice system to pay for the bail and all that. The 1/3 would actually be paid in usually alcohol or sometimes cash. So this was a vicious cycle. They would just keep getting drunk, getting thrown in jail, getting thrown back into a week's worth of labor, and this would happen 52 times per year, every week. So it was a vicious cycle. The alcohol was leveraged into basically keeping them in the system, and there was that. For context. There was an act called the California Protection Act, which actually legalized the practice of using the auctions to keep them in indentured servitude. Further going into the historical context of the site, during 1848, the gold rush was happening. So LA was basically the Wild West. There weren't that many laws. It wasn't very structured. And all of this was going on during the 1850s. So it was right after the gold rush. So this is the reason that everyone was here right now in LA, was seeking gold. So everyone was trying to get gold, and labor was intense, for vineyards and ranchers and for gold seeking as well, or for mining. The Indians were Native Americans, so they were native to this country and to this area. So for question 2, what makes the site significant historically, politically, socially, and culturally? The historical significance of the site is that this site was used to legalize slavery for the Native Americans. The political significance of this site is that actual laws were used to enact and to basically formally set up the legalization of slavery. The historical significance, political significance, the social significance, and the cultural significance of the site. The historical significance comes back to the legalization of slavery, because this site was used as the site to auction off Native Americans. The political significance is that laws were enacted to keep the system going of selling slaves or Indians into slavery. The social significance is that this site it's a strong symbol for the disbalance and the imbalance between whites and Native Americans. And for the cultural significance is the site basically created a culture of alcoholism here, and the alcoholism was leveraged to keep these Indians involved in slavery. Okay. So question 3 asks for 5 key concepts from the course readings related to the site. I came up with 6. The first concept is capitalism. So the idea is that white landowners were using slavery in order to get cheap labor, and the cheapest labor, which is unethical by modern day business standards. So that's for capitalism. For the second one I came up with was Orientalism. So Indians, both tame Indians or wild Indians, were considered the enemy. So white landowners would consider them the enemy, and they really had no empathy towards them. The third key concept would be slavery, which in this case was legalized. The fourth key concept is exploitation. Clearly, the Indians were being exploited by the white landowners by use of laws. The fifth concept here is power. So there was a very obvious disbalance between the power that white people had versus the Indians. The white people leveraged the use of reading, laws. So basically the continual disbalance of power between them. And the sixth topic that I found was genocide. So many Indians were killed because of the practice of indentured servitude, because of alcoholism and all of that. So it was essentially a genocide here because of the high amounts of death. Okay. So question 4 asks, how does this site challenge conventional understandings of the way we understand LA? So we typically look at the site like this as, Ready? Okay. So question 4 asks, how does this site challenge the conventional understandings of the way we understand a region? So this is a courthouse, and typically we understand a courthouse to be a place of peace, of laws, of structure. And during the 1850s, this site was not. This is a site used to auction off Indians, which is an unethical practice. So yeah, we typically think of a place like this as a place of ethics, a place of laws, and in reality, in the past, it was the exact opposite of that. It was a place that was basically used to support genocide. It was an unethical use of capitalism. And yeah, typically we think of the history of Native Americans to be more about the Trail of Tears, more about the smallpox blankets, but we never think about them, or Native Americans, to be involved in slavery. So this is another way that we understand Native American history, is that they were actually involved in slavery, and they were being enslaved through the use of alcoholism. So question 5 asks, how does the site challenge the myth of a nation of immigrants as well as the concept of linear and progressive time? So for the nation of immigrants, so people in the US typically think that this is a nation of immigrants, but in reality it's not. This nation already had, these lands already had Native Indians here. So they were here. And they were the ones who controlled the land, and basically the Europeans came in and they took over the land. So it wasn't a land of immigrants. There were already people here. It was just this land was stolen. So in reality, it should be considered a nation of colonialism, a nation of theft, which is in reality what happened. For the second part, for the concept of linear and progressive time, here we see that history really does repeat itself, and there's not really progress, because in the past this site was used to promote slavery, and it was used to promote a power imbalance, and it's still going on right now. City Hall right now is used to prosecute people, and it's used to stuff people into the prison industrial complex, which keeps people down. It prevents people from getting good jobs in the end, and it ends up ruining lives in the long run. So in a sense, this site used to be a place of slavery, and through the current prison industrial complex, it kind of still is a place where slavery continues to happen. That's it. Part of question 5. How does the site inculate a sense of history similar to Even the Rain or In Light of Reverence? This site is basically a place where we can clearly see the imbalance of power between Native Americans and white people. We saw that in the movie by the rituals and the spiritual practices of the Native Americans not being respected, and for Native Americans as a whole not being respected. And this site kind of brings you back to a time where they were clearly not being respected by being thrown into slavery. And yeah, it kind of instills an idea of the unequalness is still going on through the prison industrial complex, through the slavery that happened in the past, and in the movies how they were being treated unfairly and not being respected. It all kind of comes back together and it's all kind of interconnected.
So at the Museum of Social Justice, there was this artist, Hugo, who created a mural. A portion of the mural had a lynching scene, and there was this Mexican girl portrayed as the heroine who was trying to stop the lynching, and that just kind of goes back to the fictional side of slavery and everything else that we were talking about, especially with Django Unchained, and how that's a fiction-based, like, fantasy, and this is also a fantasy, and it's like you never really hear of the Mexican side of lynching or anyone saving or stopping these lynchings from happening, and it was just really interesting and eye-opening to see the female empowerment that, yes, we can.
We are at La Carreta right now, gonna get food. And this place, they have like homemade quesadillas, tortillas, and they're really good. And people will sell like right here, like in the corner of the street on Vernon and Compton, they would sell like in like a carreta, like a dead ass carreta. And then like now, like they bought the property here and now they're like serving, and look how packed it is over here with how many people and all that.
As we reach the halfway point to our tour, I would recommend it to other people because it is insightful. You do get to know more about California. and the dark side of history.
I hope you got that all on videotape, that he thought it was public.
He probably thought it. Our professor's making us break the law.
So now they're getting some raspados. Look at her, Amy.
In 1956, the Relocation Act became a federal act. The act encouraged cultural assimilation. When they left their land, the government took advantage of the land the Native Americans left behind and used their resources that they were forced to leave behind. The government and the Bureau of Indian Affairs promised housing and small stipends to transition to city living, but the families received little to no help at all and found themselves in LA. So we're at the Indian Revival Center at Bell Gardens. This was the location of many powwows. The LA area is part of the Tongva people. It's their land. Dozens of tribes have lived here in the Indian Revival Church. In the 80s, there were 16,594 American Indians in LA alone. And in 1990, there were 889 living in Bell Gardens. In 1948, the urban relocation program began, which removed the people from their communities along with their culture to further eliminate Native American culture. The same policies got rid of financial responsibilities from the government to the Native people. And despite the efforts to strip the people of their culture, they found one another in LA and created pan-Indian activities. Some of the tribes that found themselves in LA were the Cherokee, Navajo, Pima, and just to name a few. The American Indian Community Council was established in 1998 and provides a variety of services like mental health, wellness, circles, youth meetings to promote leadership and working events in LA.
We out here in this bitch. We're all tired and driving.
Sitting down, walking.
Oh man, it's been so hard driving. I've been driving us this whole time.
It's getting dark.
Morale is going down.
It's going down.
The sun is going down. It's getting cold.
I'm not getting sick.
Amy's getting sick over here.
Lies. Mentirosa.
Wow!
Police.
Excuse me, I identify as a non-female person.
Is this it? I don't know. Stay tuned.
Like a burial site.
Fuck that already.
So they think that this guy
She doesn't matter how you pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce his name,
But he's also like a lawgiver and a god, so I think that this is his birthplace, and so it's sacred land. And so it's like we kind of have to be quiet around this area. Like, we're like, I know, like all of these people, they're like, no. So they wanted to literally build a parking lot right next to the garden or whatever, like right here. And there was a dispute. Look, there's an entrance right there.
That's weird.
Is that a pot?
Yeah.
So this is believed to be the land of the Puvungna people, or at least what's remaining of it.
I know pick sage, but like we need to find it like there, and I need to like give them pictures. So behind me and all around me is the ancient Pavungna historic site here at Cal State Long Beach, and this was ancient territory, sacred land, and they claim it was once the birthplace of a lawgiver and god Chingnish. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I wish I did. But this land is still used by Native Americans today who have ancestors of Havungna and Tungva tribes. The Gabrielino Tungva tribes, and there's the reason
It's so cold.
so the reason they found out that it was Pavungna land is there was digging that was happening in the 1950s, and they were finding a lot of artifacts here. This is like literally filled with 500 artifacts, and they found a skeleton which was buried through ancient burial, and so a coroner did a bunch of research and found out that it was not a recent death, it was very old death. And there's been disputes of I'm pretty sure they actually reburied that skeleton, and there's been a lot of conflict between the government, the state, and the tribes here. It's like erasing their history, basically.
So we finished the project in the creepiest place. Not to disrespect, but
We love.
Wait a minute.
hopefully we don't have weird ass dreams. Made me understand or change my perspective. And most of the group, I could say, about history and time is that history still lies there, but over time it may be forgotten. But we continue exploring and looking for it, looking for more answers, looking where we came from. We will find the answers. Like when we went to San Gabriel Valley, how we found a worker there that was telling us firsthand how it was the land of his people, or how we just discovered new things in LA in general that skyscrapers took out. So in general, I do believe this tour will come to an end. I think collectively I could speak for the group when I say that we have learned that there's more that meets the eye, that history is all around us, that we need to take advantage of it, and we need to take the first step into looking for more information about our roots, about the people that we honestly agreed that this tour, we would recommend it to other people, that it is insightful, it is fun. Yeah, we had our bumps in our road, but other than that, it was a good tour.